Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I could ask now for a moment of silence. Okay, well, thank you all. Do a roll call now. Before I do that, I want to welcome everybody here. Glad to see a lot of you I know, and a lot of you watching out there. I'm an old guy, so I still call it TV land. Roll call, I will start with Commissioner Cos.
Here.
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 Here. Here.
All commissioners are present. Public comment, I don't believe there's any on the public side of it, Mark. And I was told there was none, so I think there's some at the end.
I don't have it.
Okay.
I'm not aware of anything.
Okay, next item is administrative business, which I'll start out. It's my honor, it's my privilege, especially wearing a badge for over 21 years, to be able to read this proclamation for all our law enforcement people. Leavenworth Board of County Commissioners Proclamation, National Police Week, May 9th through the 15th of 2021. To all citizens of Leavenworth County, greetings. Whereas in 1962, President John Kennedy set aside this week to pay tribute to law enforcement officers of this nation and to memorize those who have fallen in the line of duty. And whereas the sheriff's deputies and their support staff in Leavenworth County work with courage, dedication to enforce the laws fairly, to reduce crime and violence, and in general to improve quality of life for everyone in this community. And whereas the dedicated men and women who have chosen law enforcement as a career often face unknown or extraordinary risk and danger in preserving our freedom and security. And whereas these women and men are mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, daughters, and sons, and we give gratitude to their families for supporting them in their career. And whereas the employees of the Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office play a growing role as one who promote harmony and mutual respect among citizens in an increasingly diverse population. And whereas we wish to give everyone an opportunity to appreciate and thank the men and women of the Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office who dedicate their lives to the public service. Now, therefore, it be resolved that we, the Leavenworth County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 9th to 15th, 2021 to be National Police Week in Leavenworth County and urge all citizens to participate fully in this observance. And whereas I have set unto my hand and fixed the seal of Leavenworth County this 5th day of May 2021 in Leavenworth County, Kansas, Michael Smith, Leavenworth County Commission. Does anybody want to make any comments? Folks, I'm going to tell you, I'm very proud of you.
Absolutely.
I really am. But y'all give me something. I've known some of you a long time, but I won't share who I do because I'll show our age, so I'll let that go. And even one now that's even more important to me, from a person I knew a long time ago, is I'd like to do and excuse me about the last name, I'm going to do my best with it. Everyone knows me. I'm terrible with last names, even though I probably called him the wrong name for years doing that. So this is very important to these county commissioners too. But proclamation, Detective Corporal Daniel Ray Abramovich, May 12th, 2021. Whereas the Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office owned Detective Corporal Abramovich died in the line of duty on October 30th, 2020. Whereas Detective Corporal Abramovich was a beloved husband, father, and public servant who was with the Sheriff's Office for 26 years before giving the ultimate sacrifice. Whereas Detective Corporal Abramovich was a longtime resident of Leavenworth County after being born in the neighboring city of Winchester, Kansas. Whereas Detective Corporal Abramovich was called to serve in law enforcement, he left his mark in the Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office, serving with distinction in partnership with our community. Whereas Detective Corporal Abramovich's name was added to the Leavenworth County FOP Fallen Officers Monument at Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office. Corporal Abramovich's name will be added to the Kansas Lost Memorial located at the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center at the state capitol in Topeka, Kansas, and the National Fallen Officers Monument in Washington, D.C. Whereas the Loveland County community remembers the courage, humility, and sacrifice of Detective Corporal Abramovich, knowing he served in numerous duty assignments, including the Jail Division, Patrol Division, Traffic Division, Detective Division, and specialty units of Bomb Unit and Tactical Assistance Team. Whereas Detective Corporal Abramovich embodied the 7 core values of the Loveland County Sheriff's Office: integrity, respect, perseverance, teamwork, courage, enthusiasm, and loyalty. Whereas the memory of Detective Corporal Abramovich's service to the community will live on. Although he is not with us, we will continue to strive to answer the call as he did and speak for the victims of crimes in our community. Whereas we honor Detective Corporal Abramovich family by remembering and sharing his legacy with a new generation of Loveland County residents and Sheriff Office employees. Therefore, I, Michael Smith, Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, do here proclaim 12th day of May 2021 as Detective Corporal Abramovich Day. In witness whereof I set into my hand and I cause the seal of the county, Loveland County, to be affixed this 12th day of May 2021. Mike Smith, Board of Chairman. Folks, I'm going to let some people speak, but I want to tell you, I am just so. Yeah. Chairman, make any statements or any comments? It's good to see you this morning.
I think just like to thank the Commission for recognizing the sacrifice of Dan.
I understand.
He was a good friend.
I understand. He's a good man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, everybody else. Was anybody else that would like to address the Commission? If not, I want to tell you, thank you for your service, and you'll be remembered. It's not going anywhere. And I had the opportunity to visit tomorrow in D.C. If you ever get a chance, it's worth going to. Again, we thank you for all your service, and especially Dan. So thank you.
Yep, he will be missed.
Any other county commissioners like to make a statement or comment?
Dan was there about 30 years. 26, yeah. I remember when he came. You know, the guy never aged. He was the same as when he started. I remember when I saw him years afterwards, I couldn't believe. I said, I'm aging like unbelievable when I saw that. The rest of us all got older and he didn't. Yeah, that's very true. He was a good man. Very true.
I just have one thing to say is I think the Commission, and I hope you feel supported by this body, because I think we support law enforcement and we want you to know that you are supported from this level, and we are not going to undermine what you do, and we want to always support the role that you play. And I know the things that are happening across the country, we are not of that mind. We support what you're doing to protect us. Thank you.
And even one more thing, don't ever somebody bring in front of me defunding law enforcement, because I can guarantee you right now, you never say never. This commissioner will never support that. They play such a vital role. You have to wear that badge, and they'll really appreciate it. But especially what's going on in the world today, folks, there's just no excuse. They're trying to do their job. They're being spit on, things thrown at them, and they're just good people, good men and women doing what they chose a profession. And I could sit here and talk an hour, and y'all get tired of me. But just know my heart's with all of you that have decided to wear that badge. Jeff, did you want anything to say anything?
Oh, I was just going to say, don't feel bad about pronouncing his last name, Mike, because he was my cousin, and I couldn't even pronounce it half the time. I always said Abramovich.
That's what I was telling the sheriff.
Yeah. And I asked Dan one time, I said, the rest of your family says Abramovich. How come you say Abramovich? And he said, I got tired of trying to spell people and correct people, so... He would say Abramovich.
That's
okay. I didn't know that. So
I didn't either. I just found
out.
Time. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Bottom line, whatever the name was, he was a good man, and we appreciate it.
Not everybody can have the last name Smith.
Yeah, not everybody wants to sometimes. Don't ever get us confused, okay? Please don't do that to us. Anyway, is there anything else, Vicki? Was there anything you'd like to say?
I just want to thank the Sheriff's Department for all of the work that you do. And I have had the pleasure of working with both Mike and Andy in various roles in the community, and the involvement of our Sheriff's Department and the support that they give us is just incredible. So thank you.
Thank you, folks. Okay, we can mark as a...
I did have one other thing this morning under administrative business, maybe two. I don't know if you had anything or not, but I wanted to bring up the American Rescue Plan. The Treasury did put out their preliminary final guidance. I don't know how that works for final and preliminary in the same sentence, but that's how they put it out. They don't expect it to be final until mid to late June, but I think it's pretty safe to say that right now what they've put forward is what they intend to use for rules for the use of that money. I provided you all a handout. It really hasn't changed since a few weeks ago when they first put it out, but it does look like the county will receive approximately $16 million in two separate deposits, one this year and one no sooner than next year. That doesn't mean we'll get it next year, but it said no sooner than. The funding they're going to follow along the lines pretty closely with what they had for the CARES Act funds, with the exception of a few areas that they added, but they're very specific. I was pretty hopeful that they were going to open this up to any infrastructure spending, but they did not. They made it very specific, only water, wastewater, stormwater and plans, and then a broadband infrastructure investment. Those are the only areas of infrastructure right now that they're allowing any kind of spending in. That could change, just like the last program changed over the 6 months that we were trying to get it taken care of. But for now, that's the guidance. So good that we're getting the money, and we should have it. The next thing I'm going to ask you should allow us to get that money within the next week, the first portion of it. But frustrating that they didn't allow us a little more leeway with the way it's going to be spent. But
Mark, is the city's getting their share directly to?
The cities will have to go through the state.
Okay.
I believe Leavenworth City might be a little different because they're a block grant community, but I don't know that. That would be something they would have to verify.
So the amount you told us is what the county's going to be receiving?
That is my understanding as of yesterday afternoon. Yep.
Okay.
And we'll know for sure in a week because they will deposit the first half in our bank account. But that brings me to the next item on this is the county needs to designate an authorized representative. They call it a CEO. This person will be responsible for submitting the reports to the Treasury Department. We will be submitting them straight to the Treasury Department, not through the state this time around, and then making sure all the paperwork's filled out and that we are in compliance with the regulations. You can designate the chairman, another commissioner, or you could designate myself.
There we go.
I would recommend designating me just because I will be the one who probably is tracking it anyways, but certainly if one of you wants to take that task on, I'd be happy to.
Thanks for volunteering.
Pass it along.
We appreciate it.
So I would like a formal motion and vote to designate me as the authorized representative.
Motion and a second. Even before he quits speaking, is there any more discussion on that? I don't think so. Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Mark.
I will have that form submitted today, and they say within 5 days we'll receive our first deposit of funds.
So we'll be having some work sessions on how to spend this money. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm a little confused on.
Yeah.
I understand wastewater and water, but broadband, would we be subsidizing a private company then?
Well, there are a lot of projects that are out there, and we certainly will schedule a work session on it. I will tell you that the National Association of Counties is, I won't say discouraging, but cautioning counties on spending money in that way because the state is getting money directly, specifically for that.
Yeah.
And on top of their normal distribution, they are also getting other funds. So they're cautioning about getting into those kind of projects. Plus, the technology is changing so rapidly that what we're investing in today may be obsolete in a year from now. I think a lot of you have seen the satellites that are going up.
Maybe we can.
Alarm.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So I don't think that we should even consider doing anything that's going to assist the state in there.
That was just my concern. And then also, I just would like to schedule a work session on this Senate Bill 13. I think we need to be proactive on how we're going
I do too.
to comply with this. and maybe invite our representatives, our senator, to help explain
And
how we can remain revenue neutral.
and the clerk, because
Well, yeah, the county clerk, of
just
course.
make sure that we have her present that day, because they're receiving quite a bit of training on it.
Yeah, well, and believe me, I've always supported lowering the mill levy. I mean, my voting record shows that, and 3 out of the 4 years I was here, it was lowered. But I just wish that new construction we would have been able to add new construction and new businesses to our base, because we have to provide more services
Right.
for all these new homes, especially if it's a subdivision and we take over the streets. So I'd just like, a work session on it. We do have a year. I mean, it's 2022, but some guidance on how we could comply with this.
I have no problem with that at all. Is everybody else okay with letting Mark set us up one?
Well, my next one was hoping we could do it before we get too involved in
In
our
the
budget
budget.
this
Mhm.
year.
So I was just talking with the clerk this morning about some timelines, and then also I'm aware of some scheduling with some of the commissioners being out of town, or at least not available for work sessions. But I think we're going to try to schedule our budget work session with the Board of County Commissioners probably the second week of June, and then the first week in July we will have kind of the formal board proposal that you have to approve before July 15th what our mill levy is going to be, so we can get it published, and if we have to send out notices, and that's going to be kind of going forward. That'll be our timeline. So that's kind of for the budget, the second week in June. The departments are turning them in the end of this week, first part of next week, and we'll review them. The clerk and I will review those with the departments the next couple of weeks, and then if that works for the board. As far as a work session on Senate Bill 13, I can try to get that set up. I think next week might be too soon, but it might work out because they're not in session right now to try to get some of our representatives in here.
Yeah.
But I think that you might want to also discuss House Bill, I think it's 2313.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they
That
don't match
is
up.
also, it's not as problematic for the county, but it was one of those ones they did last minute. Friday they're getting ready to come home, and they adopted 2 bills that
Right.
are very impactful for local government. The House Bill 2313 won't impact the county as much because we didn't actually have orders that closed businesses, and we didn't have a county-wide mask ordinance. But the cities that did should be very much aware of this because it requires for a rebate, and that's where the county gets involved. They have to make application to the state. The state will send us a little notification, and then the county treasurer is tasked with sending these rebates out, and then the county has to get reimbursed from the taxing entity that had these closures. I've spoken with the county counselor, and I believe that puts us in a position of potentially violating the cash basis law. So what our approach we intend is that we will get those statements and then require reimbursement before we actually issue the checks, so that we don't get put in an awkward position if somebody doesn't pay us on time.
Because we don't have a line item in the budget for refunds.
We do not have a line item for that.
Now, that bill's still sitting on the government.
Yeah, that hasn't been signed. That's correct, but it was approved the last day, so I assume it's going to. And there were only 3 nay votes in the House, and it passed unanimously in the Senate.
Okay.
So I would imagine that one's coming through.
One more reason for us to do everything we can not to help with this.
It's again problematic, but I'll schedule. I'll try to see what our local representatives' availability is, and if we can get them here next week, we can do that. If not, it'll be hopefully the following week.
Okay.
And then as far as the work session on the ARP, I would like to do that one at least preliminarily, get that kicked off. We have a lot more time on this one, which is nice. The timeline for committing the funds is by the end of 24, and the timeline for spending those funds is the end of 26. So if you have a project that you've obligated the funds towards and it's still ongoing, you have through the end of 26. So we have a little bit of time on that one, but certainly we want to get out in front of it and start getting some programs set up. I think we can spend a little more time than the last time when we had 5 months to spend $16 million.
Makes sense. Okay. Do you have anything else to make?
Oh, just I didn't know if any other commissioner wanted to go. Mayor or Baser's having the mayor's luncheon on the 20th of May, I believe. It's at Catholic Church, Holy Angels Church. I mean, I'll be attending, but
I'd go.
okay.
I'll get with you afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Absolutely. Okay. Anything else on the administrative business before we move on? Mark, County Commissioners, David, anything? Okay. Consent agenda. I've had a chance to look it over. Is there anything that needs to be removed? If not,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
motion and second. Any discussion on? None. I'll call the roll. Mr. Collins?
Aye.
Mr. Smith? Aye. Commissioner
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Aye.
Go around. Okay. Formal board action. I think this one's going Greg on. Consider a motion to approve funding for the regional transportation study in the amount of $150,000. It's showtime. It's your time. Welcome.
Mic on.
It should be.
Chairman, fellow commissioners, my name is Greg Cause. I am the current chairman of the Leavenworth County Port Authority. And I come today to give you a very, very quick update on the Leavenworth County Regional Transportation Study. A lot of this that's in this PowerPoint you guys are very aware of and have already been briefed on, but this is the same PowerPoint that I used for all four of the cities when I made my presentation with them.
Okay.
So first of all, I have to apologize for the PowerPoint. They didn't give me any budget for this, so I had to go on the internet, and you can see it's freepowerpoint.com. And unfortunately, the one that I found that was closest, these are cars in California, not Leavenworth County.
Okay.
But next time, if you want to give me some money, I'll go take pictures and get something.
I can live with this. Go ahead.
So what I want to touch a little bit, the transportation in the Kansas City metro area, particularly Leavenworth County, has been of interest to many people. In particular, a lot of the elected officials, KDOT and MARC. If you look at the Kansas City metro area, there's been a lot that has occurred in the northeast portion of the Kansas City metro area, the Liberty, the 152 area, the southeast area with Lee Summit, 470, 291 area, the Olathe area in the southwest with I-35 intermodal, 435. But the transportation improvements in the northwest portion of the metro area have been somewhat limited. There's been some, but nothing major. Part of this, I think, is due to not having some type of a regional plan that MARC and KDOT can use as a guide to know where to put the funding at. So we've done a lot of studies with the help of Bill Knoll's staff. We pulled together several of the studies going back almost 20 years. And I'll go through these fairly quick, but Kaw Valley, or the Kaw Connect Major Corridor Study, I-70 Topeka to Kansas City, also looked at 2440, East Lawrence Bypass, East-West Capacity Improvements, K7, K7 Corridor Management, Segment 3. This was broken into three separate segments. Segment 1 was Olathe. Segment 2 was kind of in the middle. Segment 3 was Leavenworth County. Most of the attention was given to Segment 1 and Segment 2, not so much to Segment 3. But what they did look at was 4 lanes with auxiliary lane freeway, or a six-lane freeway style with interchanges or possible flyovers, interchanges at Parallel Road, Leavenworth Road, Donahue, Hollingsworth, Fairmont, and McIntyre. They also looked at some of the intersection improvements for Gilman and East Mary as you come into Lansing. 2440 corridor, this looked from 2440 from Honey Creek Road, which is just west of Tonganoxie, to K7. It also looked at a north-south corridor that would have ran west of Baser, kind of starting at the Dempsey Road and going south to Leavenworth County. 2008 link and KDOT consultation. This looked at K92, Leavenworth to KCI, looked at a 73 bypass, again 2440 Perry to Tongi, and also the K92 bridge. 2013 was the 5-county study. This was a very broad study. Looked at I-70 Topeka to Kansas City, Missouri, 2440, K7, K92, also K5 corridor from K7 to 435, and then the potential outer loop corridor. This covered several counties in a large area, though. More recently, K92 Centennial Bridge study that was done in 2016. Originally was looked at as a toll facility. Due to the opposition from the city and from Fort Leavenworth, the toll portion was kicked out, but they were looking at a new bridge north of the current bridge and increase the capacity on Metropolitan and 4th Street and the entrance to Fort Leavenworth. Part of this concept included a roundabout at 92 Highway and 45 Spur, and as several of you have probably seen, construction has already started on that.
Yeah.
Notice to proceed was May 5th. Scheduled completion is around the 1st of December of this year. And it will consist of a roundabout, but there will be what they call a slip lane, that if you're going east on 92 and you want to get on Spur 45, you'll have a separate ramp to do that to where you don't have to go through the roundabout. So that'll alleviate some of the heavier traffic. The project, as far as the Centennial Bridge, in February, it was moved from the advanced preliminary engineering study to the preliminary engineering phase, which meant it moved from the illustrative list to the constraint portion. What's that mean? Basically, they bumped it up. They took some of the scheduled funding that they had at K7 and I-70, which that was scheduled to be done in about 7 phases. They took some of the money from phases 6 and 7, took that money, and they were going to use it for the design for Centennial Bridge. That design cost is estimated around $5 million, with the overall project for the bridge at about $120 to $130 million. So design for that project should be started this year. My guess is you're probably at least 18 to 24 months on the design, and then hopefully once there's funding available, that project will go to construction. If Washington decides to support an infrastructure bill, hopefully some of that funding could be used for some of that, but it's a ways off. Getting more recently, a lot of you guys will remember the Patriot Highway, which was the West Bypass. This was proposed by John Bradford, working through Maris Consulting Group, and this was supposed to be a new north-south intelligent highway. Ran east of Baser, or east of Linwood, west of Baser, went north, and then crossed north of Baser, south of Lansing, and eventually it crossed the Missouri River. It was supposed to be intelligent, and I don't know if any of you guys saw about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think Lenexa is doing a section of what they call intelligent pavement. It has the ability, supposedly, to charge electric cars, conduits for future expansion for IT. This type of construction is very, very expensive, hence the price tag of $4 billion. $4 billion, not million, billion. Big number. This project died due to some of the opposition and probably due to the $4 billion. More recently is Eastern Gateway, and you guys are all very familiar with where we're at with that. Eastern Gateway would definitely have an effect on how this study is looked at and the results of this study, depending on what the results of Eastern Gateway come back as. If it's feasible, then it's going to look a lot different than if the costs are not feasible. So that will be entered into it. A little history. Back in December, 1st of December, is when you directed the Port Authority to work with Bill Knoll and his team to start working on the regional transportation study. After that direction, got through the holidays, we had a meeting January 5th with Mark and with KDOT, Secretary Lorenz, her Deputy Secretary, Chief Engineer were all present, and we had about an hour and a half meeting with them. Secretary Lorenz restated that what I need is a plan. I need to know what you guys want. I don't want to come in and I don't want to be the referee between the cities and the county and say, well, why'd you do this one or why'd you do that one? She says, we did this in Wichita, northeast part of Wichita. They gave us a priority list. And she says, as we got funding, we just started picking the projects off the list. If we want to get any federal money, state money, we need to have a plan in place in order to get that money. After that meeting, we had several study sessions with the Port Authority groups. Bill NOLL, with the assistance of Olson, started developing a draft RFP. When that got close to being done, we did establish a subcommittee to provide review and comments. And this subcommittee consisted of paid staff from the county and from each of the cities. I felt it was important that we did not use volunteers, that we used paid staffs that were very familiar with RFPs, selecting consultants, and there could be nothing said of favoritism by somebody else that maybe had another business. So that committee did meet. They reviewed the RFP. They made some changes. The RFP is in a final format now, which I believe you have been provided a copy of. After that, then I went to all of the cities to present the RFP and to request funding from them, which I have done that. And I would like to say that all 4 cities I've had unanimous support, financial and
Correct.
in spirit of the process. So nobody voted against this. They all agreed to pony up for the money. A little bit about the RFP. The goal is to kind of pull all these studies together and come up with a priority list. What's most important? Probably one of the most important things of this study is somehow we need to agree with cities and county. Everybody needs to agree on the same thing, and it needs to be adopted by all of the elected officials. So that's going to be a challenge, but we've got to get through that, and there's going to have to be some give and take. As you know, Leavenworth County will be the lead agency. They will have the contract with the consultant. They will have sub-agreements with each of the city. Mr. Van Paris has indicated that he feels a very simple agreement between the cities can work for that, for the funding. Estimated to be a 12-month study. This is the selection criteria, how the consultant will be selected. And again, that subcommittee will make the recommendation for the consultant that will do the work. So the scope, develop goals and objectives, work with the steering committee. There will be public involvement, so there'll be public meetings. Not exactly sure how that'll work right now with COVID. There'll be some virtual ones, some in person. I would think they tend to go back to some in-person ones, but probably have the option for some virtual too. But they need to collect data, look at traffic volumes, crash histories, existing road conditions, forecast traffic patterns and volumes, update some of the cost engineering on some of the previous studies, and then hopefully develop a prioritized model to rank the identified projects. They'll also take and conduct a high-level evaluation of the critical clearances required, environmental, floodplain, things like that. So what will they give to us? They're going to present a draft findings that will be presented to the Port Authority. It will also be presented to all the cities in the county with the goal of tweaking it to where we can develop a consensus among us all. If that is completed, they will then issue a final report for adoption and endorsement by the elected county and city officials, and hopefully that report will be used for the steering guidance for KDOT and for federal funding. And we can start getting some federal funds up into the northwest part of Kansas City. This is the proposed funding. The study is estimated to cost somewhere between $450,000 and $650,000. We're starting on the low end. We feel that maybe there's some savings we can find in there to keep the cost down. KDOT, we've got them slated for $150,000. Leavenworth County $150,000. City of Leavenworth $90,000. Lansing $30,000. Basehor and Tongi $15,000 each. And as I said before, all four of the cities have already made commitments to that funding level. So those were the schedules when I met with the cities. The county is the last one I'm coming to. If the county chooses to support this, then we will take all these recommendations and I will work with Mr. NOLL and we will approach KDOT to request their funding. They have not made a dollar amount of what they would fund. They kind of said, you get everybody on board and come to us. And so we're kind of at that point. If we can get funding from the county, then we will approach KDOT for their portion of the funding. I don't know if Mr. NOLL has anything that he'd like to add to this, or.
Greg, I got a question for you. Not a question, but a comment you made that is very important of all of this, what you've said. Remember years ago we did an airport study, and all the cities and all the county got together. And then when the results came out, one city didn't like it, and it flopped. I think what you can't emphasize enough, as you did, that everyone has to be committed to this. Because if everyone doesn't have a stake in this, and not what's good for the city is good for the county, what's good for the county is good for the cities, then this is going to be another flop, and that's a lot of money to be thrown away. So I'm not saying to you, I'm just saying to everybody. It's very important that if these commissioners decide to go that direction, that what the agreement is and what the plans come out have to be, all of us have to stick to our guns on that and be responsible for what we're going to do and not say, okay, I didn't get it in this city or I didn't get it in this area, so I'm backing out. And that's what I've seen happen before, and I just don't want to see it happen with this. I agree that, there's a time coming that for discussion. I've watched this a couple of times now, so I was trying to pick out anything that you haven't said already. But it's so important to make sure that everybody's on board on this, or we're going to be wasting funds. And I think you said that very clearly, so I appreciate your comments. County Commissioners? Mike?
Okay. Will you call it a regional transportation study? Is it going to be is or is not going to be Leavenworth County specific?
It will be Leavenworth County specific, but it will look at tying into other things outside of Leavenworth County. So obviously we have to tie into any other plans in Johnson County, Douglas, Platte County. So my understanding is it would reach out a little further than Leavenworth County.
Yeah. So in the five county study and some of the previous studies, you would be connecting into portions of Douglas, Wyandotte, Platte counties with the projects in this study. But that's where the infrastructure is. So primarily it is focused on what is best for Leavenworth County, being that you have to connect into the neighboring communities in some way.
Okay, so a follow-up to that is, I noticed on the list there's no MARC funding on the list. Is this something that MARC would also could participate in?
They're not going to financially participate. I believe Greg may have been on that call, but they will provide modeling, crash data, review of the plans, but financially they...
Since it's regional, I figured that would be something they might be interested in.
Well, we're not in their time frame. So currently they would be awarding funds for like 2025, 2026. And so if we're going to utilize MARC funding, it's something that you'd have to apply for several years in advance, and obviously we're here today.
But Bill, by using some of their information, as Greg has said before, 450 is a low one. That may cut down some of the costs. Anytime we can come in and get information, I mean, you may not see a dollar, but you may see in kind money come towards that can help lower the cost and keep it around the 450 that has been presented. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. They would be providing services that would reduce the cost, same as they had provided services for the second phase of the Eastern Gateway for the traffic analysis. And so that should help reduce that cost down. And also, as Greg stated from the meeting that we had with the Secretary and then subsequent meetings with the KDOT study groups, they have been not exactly forthright with exactly what their funding amount would be. They were wanting to see what support something like this had locally. So therefore, we could come back to them. I think that Greg just used the assumption of $150,000. They alluded to numbers in that range or possibly a little higher. So obviously, we will ask for a little bit more and see where we end up.
So is this study going to be, do you see it as being like a compendium of all the studies that have been done, and then we look at where those are now, and then we make prioritization based on those prior studies? Is that pretty much how the...
Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but from my understanding, what KDOT would like to utilize is a capital improvement plan that demonstrates a narrative that provides them a reasoning for the order of the sequence of projects that we're proposing. And so you would want to have a cost estimate and a prioritization within this document. So it will study existing studies to update them in the manner that we would ask for the funding to be allocated in. And so the study, if completed, and this is what the Polk Quincy Viaduct in Topeka and the city of Topeka and Shawnee County did, and Derby, the city of Wichita and Sedgwick County, and a 4-county region in southwest Kansas has also got a capital improvement regional study they have completed. And then you would take that to the IKE programming committees, which the next opportunity for that is this October. And you would present your projects, your priority projects, with the Port Authority, with the cities, and you each get a certain amount of time, kind of like public comment here, where you get 3 minutes, and you try to each take a portion of a presentation and present that to the committee for funding.
Okay.
No, I think we have to do this to be considered for any funding. We've got to have a project like this. I'm like you, taking all of our studies we've done in the past that are outdated, but we have done them. And KDOT recently completed one on the Outer Belt Highway. You call it Patriot Highway. We'll call it the Outer Belt.
Okay.
I think I went to the first meeting on that in 1995 or 96. And, you know, Gardner was just going to implode, and it was just going to cause problems for everything, and they were going to have to do that. But since then, you know, if you look at it's changed. I mean, everywhere where the highway was going to be is now kind of full of houses in the Gardner area. You know, it'd have to change. But this study, I mean, we have to do this. Just, you know, in case there is a federal highway money that's available, we've got to have this plan. I've been saying that since I've been here. You got to have projects on the shelf. You have to have something that's we'll consider shovel ready that we wouldn't have got, or Baser wouldn't have got the money for the county for 155th Street if they didn't have that project designed and
Ready to go.
Ready to go. And that when I said Baser got the money for the county, that's County Route 7. That's the county's road. So we either fix it with matching funds now, or we do it all 100% county down the road.
No, we've been down that road.
We don't want to do that. So I think it's very important we have a good study.
I'm fine with it. Vicki?
I agree. We need this.
Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say I'd like to wait until we were sure that the Eastern Gateway was going to be included in this study. I'm pretty sure it will be, but the timing is just not right. But I understand how it works. If we don't do this, we won't qualify for grants or shared costs, you know, from the feds and the state. So I understand, you know, if we were awarded one project, we'd get paid back easily. This amount of money.
Continuing to delay decisions has not worked for us.
Right.
That's how we got here.
Yeah, I mean.
Because I'm confident the Eastern Gateway
I am too, Jeff.
offers, none of these other projects offer somebody getting from Lansing to Parkville city limits in 5 minutes. None of the other projects do that. So
I'm kind of concur on that.
That's
Well,
fine.
the county has lost a lot of KDOT
We need to look
funding
at-
by not having projects
For now.
on the shelf.
We need
The
to,
time frame on this, just to give you an idea, if it's approved today, we're going to go to KDOT. I'm sure it's going to take 30 to 60 days to get funding from KDOT. Then by the time you put the RFP out on the street, I don't see us having anybody on board until August, September, probably at the earliest, and we're estimating a 12-month study. So hopefully by the end of the year, we would have something back on Eastern Gateway to where it would be
Yeah,
included.
I think you're right, Greg.
I would estimate 6 to 8 weeks maximum with Eastern Gateway. They've indicated as few as 2 to 3 weeks from the conclusion of the Phase 2 study, which just concluded yesterday. So I think within 2 months, we should have a final report back from Eric.
One question. Mark, funding? 150?
Well, this would have to come out of the Road and Bridge Fund or the sales tax funds. Either way, it would impact our capital improvement because this is not in our CIP. This study isn't, so it would impact that.
Okay.
But
it's
the
there.
funds are there. It just
important.
reprioritizes
Okay.
some of the funds that
Okay.
are in there.
Mike, do you have something else?
Yeah, is this the type of, like on our comprehensive plan now, we have it set to be reviewed every year and updated. Is this something, once this is set, that we can come back and like maintain it, keep it up to date? Or is it something that we're going to have and then it's just going to sit on the shelf like our other various studies?
Well, it would take all the cities and the county to get together to reprioritize, wouldn't it? If you had a priority list and you wanted to change it, say 2 years from now,
Got to update it.
I think it's something that you wouldn't revisit on a yearly basis. You might revisit it on a 5-year basis
Right.
to update costs. But unless you had growth pattern changes or some sort of substantial business that changed traffic in a considerable manner, I don't know that you would reprioritize after you spent the time to do all of the public hearings.
I agree.
And the evaluation and the collaboration between all of the cities.
Right.
You may want to update your cost estimates and then look at if there is an outlier that significantly changed something, but I would say 5 years would be adequate.
yeah, that's true, but elected officials change. So that's when things change too. Priorities change when elected officials change.
True.
If the price tag comes in at $650,000 instead of $450,000, then do you anticipate that you'd be back in front of us, or where would we try to locate those funds?
My intention would be to go to KDOT first, and then you guys would probably be second on the list.
Makes sense.
Third or fourth would be better, but that's all right.
The other thing that was discussed within the selection committee in the review of the RFP was at some point we can indicate kind of what our availability for funding is and see what kind of scope of services a consultant would provide for that funding, so to ensure that we have a manageable budget, because if you look at these nationally, some of these studies cost over $1 million, and we're not going to fund a project like that. So they need to be, as a consultant, realistic within our funding constraints.
Okay, any more questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve funding of $150,000 for a regional transportation study.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? If not, Mr. Cos?
aye.
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 It is approved. Greg, thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks
for
for
all
your
your
work.
time you put into this.
It wasn't that painful. It wasn't that painful. All right. Consider a motion to accept the High Risk Rural Roads Programs Award for Tonganoxie Road Safety Improvement Project 2023 and the Improved Project Programming Request. Bill.
Yes, so as we had previously spoke about a couple weeks ago, we did receive the high-risk rural roads grant for a 1.1 mile stretch of Tonganoxie Road. The improvements included a 6-foot shoulder addition, grading, and culvert extensions. Project cost is $1.635 million estimated. It is a 90-10 grant. The county would be responsible for 10% of those costs. That would allocate approximately 1.429 from KDOT, and then we would be responsible for the rest of that funding. The total amount requested is $206,000. This is not obviously an award, but this is considered the 1302 form, which is basically your obligation. You're signing a document with KDOT stating that you are accepting their funds and intend on matching their funds with that 10% match. And so I do have to return that to them in order for us to secure these funds for 2024, 2023. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Great job.
All right, thanks.
Take a motion.
Motion to accept the High Risk Roads Program Award for Tonganoxie Road, County Route 5 Safety Improvement Project for fiscal year 2023, and approve the project programming request form 1302, and for the Leavenworth County in the amount of $206,000.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any discussion on that?
Just
Go ahead, Mike.
one comment is we identified the three most, how am I going to word it properly?
High-risk roads.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have addressed two of the three.
That's correct.
And I think it's real progress, and I think folks should know that and with the help of KDOT, with the prioritization that's been made, it's really it's a great thing.
It is,
Yep.
Mike.
And that's why it's important that we match these funds.
And we let
Because if
KDOT
we don't,
know that-
the first
that-
one we don't, we won't have to worry about it
That's
ever
right.
again.
Someone else will, though.
And we've let them know that we're more than willing to
Yeah.
help to match
But
funds that
we're a team player here.
Yeah, keep us part of it, absolutely. Okay, if nothing else, I'll call the vote. Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
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 It passes. All righty. Consider a motion to approve an agreement for maintenance of roads in the cities for Leavenworth County and the city of Easton. Bill?
All right. So as we work through all the various maintenance agreements, we have come to a fairly good consensus with the city of Easton, working with Commissioner Culberson and their mayor. The attached map demonstrates the responsibilities of roadways. Leavenworth County would continue to maintain the county route through town, 231st Street, County Route 21. And then there was a question about Broad Street. Broad Street had previously had some maintenance from the county and then some maintenance from the city. In exchange for the agreement for the full maintenance of the county route, the city is going to maintain Broad Street per this agreement. And I think everybody is agreeable to that arrangement. With that, I would ask if you had any questions or concerns regarding this. We would need a motion. I don't know if Jeff had any comments.
No, just on that, if we turned up that half of Broad Street, one of the lanes, not both lanes, and not laterally half, literally one of the lanes was in the county, the other lane of Broad Street is in the city limits. In the past, the county was, I think, maintaining that in trade for parking equipment at Frank Asbury's property, and I don't think the present city council even knew about it. So we worked out a deal where the county trades basically maintenance of 231st Street for maintaining half of Broad Street anymore, because it just logistically it wasn't working very well. So that's what we did.
Thank you. Anybody? Okay, the motion.
Jeff, there you go.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve agreement for maintenance of roads in the cities of Leavenworth County and the city of Easton.
Second. Motion second. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, very good.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Consider a motion to approve the bid pricing for a 5-year lease on a Caterpillar D3 dozer for an annual payment of $13,197.52 from Foley Equipment Company.
Very good price.
It is. My son had to do a double take.
So you pretty much summarized that request.
I tend to do that, Bill. I'm sorry. It's an old habit.
Oh, no. I'm perfectly fine with that. This lease is a 5-year lease, 2,500 hours. It does include all fluids and filters and any repairs that would need to be needed on the machine as a full warranty. It is replacing a 1986 Cat dozer. We did receive several bids for this item, and both per hour and over the course of 5 years, this was the most cost-effective replacement option for this machine. I guess with
That's a pretty good price.
Yeah.
It really is.
You said they supply the fluid or the oil and the filters. Do they come out and do the service, or do our guys do the service?
We'll do the service, but
Okay.
they will bring them out to ensure, because they'll have their GPS on theirs,
Mhm.
so they'll know when our hours are coming
Right.
out, and they'll deliver all the fluids and filters to us as a service package in order to ensure that we are maintaining it to the maintenance guidelines.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, Bill? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the 5-year lease agreement for the Caterpillar D3 dozer for an annual payment of $13,197.52.
Second.
Motion second. Any more discussion? None, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
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 Bill? Okay, consider a motion to approve the bid pricing for a 5-year lease on a Caterpillar D6 dozer for an annual payment of $39,703.40 from Foley Equipment Company.
So very similar to the last one, except on this one, we are taking trade-in on 2 dozers for the replacement of 1. Historically, we have had for quite a while 3 dozers in the fleet, but we are reducing that number to 2. This is replacing a 1977 dozer and a 1990 dozer. Obviously, both of those have been depreciated out for a considerable amount of time within the depreciation schedule. This also is a 2,500-hour lease. It does include fluids and filters and a full warranty.
When this D6 gets stuck, what are you going to get it out with? Not the D3.
The D3 and a tractor and a
All the above.
All the graders.
It's not going to get stuck. It's a dozer.
It's going to get stuck.
graders. I don't
With
know.
the work they do, it will get stuck. If it doesn't get stuck, they're not working it. All right? And your surplus equipment did really well yesterday on the auction site, I thought.
I thought it did
Extremely well.
Yeah,
Because you disclosed everything that was wrong with all that, and they still brought really good money.
Everything's breaking up too
I
much
know,
money.
but
Well, that,
some of that
especially
needed repairs.
The tractor was way above where I would thought it was going to go. It brought 40. I have that information here. It
46.5 or something like that.
$47,850, and it needed some substantial
Some repairs.
translation work to the hydraulic systems.
Well,
But that being said, the county has an excellent maintenance program too, and people like to see all them records.
And that paid for our lease?
Yeah, pay for your dozer lease, huh?
Yep, because we sold the 2 backhoes. One went for $33,550, and the other that had some hydraulic issues went for $29,150. And then we sold 2 dump trucks with the Sanders and the plows. One brought $18,150, and one bought $16,500 that had some hydraulic issues.
And they'd be good trucks for other people. I mean,
They were 2009s.
yeah, they were past their life at the shop. I mean, but anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that. But no, you did do well on that auction site.
okay, any more comments on that? None, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. Motion to approve the bid pricing for a 5-year lease on one Caterpillar D6 dozer for an annual payment of $39,703.40 per year from Foley Equipment Company. This
Second.
leads-
Motion and a second. Any comments? Call the roll. Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
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 Passes. Okay, Bill.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Consider a motion to approve the minimum requirements language for cross-access easement homeowners association filing. Welcome.
Crystal, how are you today?
Well, Commissioners, how are you?
Good.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I have before you a request to accept the minimum required language for homeowners associations when there's a cross-access easement involved. Mr. Van Pary's helped to draft that language. If you have any specific questions about the language,
We get you.
I would recommend that you ask him those specifics. But as you all know, we've run into some issues where maybe the language isn't quite stringent enough or clear enough. That clearly defines cross-access easements are not county roadways, they will not be maintained, and that the responsibility of the maintenance of that roadway is on the property owners within those subdivisions. So, I will answer any questions that you may have, as will Mr. Van Pary's, I'm sure.
And it will be on their deeds, correct?
Correct. It'll be listed on the plat that there are off-plat restrictions. This will be part of the
And
off-plat
it has to be
restrictions.
recorded on the deeds.
Yes.
And can we put on there, do not call Public Works for any road maintenance, any snow removal,
Big bold print.
or
That doesn't
any
mean it's not gonna
potholes, or if you got sick chickens that need to get out to the veterinarian in a snowstorm, or do not call emergency management, we will not respond.
And do not call your commissioner.
And do not call your commissioner, because buyer beware that you, just trying to cover all the bases, because I know Mr. Knoll's department will get calls because they can't get up and down their private access easement road.
And Mr.
And the
Knoll's
homeowners
department would say-
association doesn't have any money, and
Okay, Mike, did you have something? I think Doug made it very clear where he thinks. Vicki? Jeff?
What he said.
Good points over there.
Did we
Good, Jeff.
So did we include the same side of the street? Are we talking about this?
no, we're not on that one yet.
Okay.
That's I was gonna bring that up.
Okay. I was making sure that's not the same one.
This is on the
Okay.
HOAs.
Right,
or,
right.
Yeah.
Who is responsible? We need to know. I know the county's not responsible. We just need to know who is responsible, so they can get the calls.
I mean, it's all we can do for right now.
Okay, if there's no more comments, I'll entertain a motion. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve. Let's see, that's where I was. The minimum requirements for cross-access easement for homeowners association agreements for maintenance located within private subdivisions.
Motion?
Second.
Motion second. Any more discussion? Hope this is very clear to folks. Okay, call the roll. Commissioner Cos?
Aye.
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 All right. Passes. Thank you. Okay, consider a motion to approve the development agreement for South Elementary School.
Commissioner, this is a request to approve a development agreement for the South Elementary School for Bayshore Linwood. As you all know, we recently approved a preliminary and final plat for the school. They are building a new elementary school down near Linwood Road and Stowell Road. The current policy is that the roadway is built and accepted into county inventory prior to building permits being issued. In this case, that is not the best scenario. Staff would rather the building be built prior to the roadway being built so that we're not damaging that roadway. With this being the school district, we feel that this is an opportunity that the county and the school district can work together. The The reason we have that policy typically is because we don't issue occupancy permits normally within subdivisions. So if we've already issued the building permits on homes before the roadway gets built, we don't really have any way to enforce the roadways built appropriately. Again, we feel like with the development agreement that the school has agreed to, Mr. Van Parys has looked over that this is a good compromise for the county and the school district. I'll
We'll
answer any
get a better
questions you may
road at
have.
the end of the project.
Was there any stacking issues? I mean, is vehicles site, or is that okay? Chris, I'm sorry. I think
So,
it's-
no, you're fine. The traffic study was approved by Olson, and that stuff was looked at very, very
Okay.
closely, and it's been determined that there's appropriate roadway and driveway that stacking issues will not be a concern.
Tommy and Oxy did a study on that too when they moved their middle school and grade school out on Evans Road, and there is a stacking problem.
Correct. That is with the information we were provided. So,
Doug's just on a roll today.
Well,
I do think when
Tell it like it is.
we approved that, though,
if I'm wrong, somebody correct me.
when we approved this one, we acknowledged that any future traffic issues would be the school districts to address.
yes.
Okay, that's the point I was making to Mark right there, along with what Doug was saying.
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman? Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the development agreement for South Elementary School for Bayshore Linwood School District.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion?
I have a little.
Jeff, go ahead.
So, in the beginning, I asked about stacking issues,
Mhm.
and I looked at the plans, and I know Olson approved it. I know we had a traffic study, but I'm still not satisfied that there's not going to be stacking problems. I didn't see any change in design in the parking lots, the driveways. They added a turn lane on the county road, but I think at 8 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I just want to go on record to say I think you're going to have stacking problems.
I'll go on record saying I know you're going to have traffic stacking problems.
Okay. Anything else, Jeff?
Nope. Oh, and I hate to see, I know we're not going to be able to stop this, but I also hate to see when they pull a school out of a small town like Easton or Linwood, I see what it does to the town. I understand it's centralizing the grade school between, the patrons of that school, makes it more convenient. I get that. But I just hate to see what I think it's going to do to the city of Linwood.
I'll second that because I think we have no authority over it, but I think it's a huge mistake.
Because I saw what happened to the city of Easton when they pulled the school out.
What we've got here, though, I got a motion. I did have a second, right?
I made the motion.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Second. I think he
Yeah, Mike
seconded. I
made
think Mike made the
Okay.
second.
Sorry, guys. Okay, any more discussion on it? Good points. I'll call the roll. Mr. Collins?
Aye.
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 Nay.
One passes. Thank you. All right.
Oh, I had a question
Go ahead.
for Crystal. On when we had our work session on the driveways, access management and driveway spacings, we said that we would have roadways and driveways on the same side, only on the spacing requirements.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is that
Yes.
what's coming up tonight?
Yes, that is within that policy change.
But was
Okay.
it worded that way, though? I think I read it where it wasn't worded.
Clearly
that
states
way.
that it's on the affected roadside only,
Okay.
that every opportunity to make a four-way intersection should be explored, but if that's not
I don't
possible-
remember us discussing that.
Well, I think if you have the opportunity of the property being developed and you can put the roadway where it
Future-
lines up with the road across from it,
For
that's
future
what we
development.
accomplish.
Yeah, but not existing.
But it's not, yeah. But it doesn't impact your spacing requirement on the other items. It's just,
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure roadways and driveway spacings were on the same side of the road only.
That's what I understood.
Okay. All right.
I have
All right.
a question for you. I know Douglas County is now developing regulations on solar. And I just wondered, have we made any progress on the solar and wind regulation that you had received?
Mr. Van Pearson and I have talked about that a number of times, and it is on our list of things that we need to bring forward to the commission.
Thank you.
They're going to need it because they want to shut down the
Everything.
power plant in Lawrence in 2023.
Yeah, well, when the sun shines and the wind blows, then we'll have electricity.
We didn't have it last
Topeka
year.
ought to be great for 4 months out of the year.
Hot air.
Well, seeing that I've lost control, is there anything else for Crystal? Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Ms. Crystal.
Yeah, I think on public presentation discussion, I think we got Mr. Grossman. Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Sir, would you come up here, please? Morning.
Good morning.
We got 5 minutes.
I won't need that much time.
Okay, sir.
I sent an email to you late yesterday, so I don't know if you had a chance to get it, but I have copies. Here, my concern is with the Cushing's Hospital building. It was my understanding originally that that building was supposed to be for use as county offices and nonprofit status. I was told through an email from Commissioner Cass that if that changed,
Cods.
I'm sorry, that if that changed, I would be considered as a possible tenant for that building.
That was not what I said to you.
Well, I have the email, and
I do
I'll be
too.
more than happy to send it to everyone. However, my concern is that the approval for the lease for a profit organization on the entire third floor was not let to the public as an RFP. I was not given a chance to bid on that or to put in a not-for-profit entity on the top there. And I just think that the commission probably overstepped its authority by issuing a lease to a for-profit agency to provide services that are desperately needed in that area, and denying me an opportunity to so much as even submit a bid on it. So I would like you to consider withdrawing that lease agreement, putting out a proposal for an RFP so that decent nonprofit services can be offered to a very needy public in that area. I have the support of the League of Women Voters and the NAACP on this. If a hospital couldn't make it there as a for-profit, I doubt whether this for-profit agency is going to do anything but milk the system as it is. So my concern, just to let you know, was that there was no RFP put out, that a lease was entered into, and that no one else was given an opportunity to bid on that. And it is no longer for nonprofit agencies or county. It's now been opened up to somebody else to provide those services. So I ask you just to consider that and do with it what you may, and decide how you want to proceed.
So can I ask you a question? What nonprofit do you run, or what are you suggesting? What organization were you wanting to bid on?
Well, I was willing to consider bidding on providing both inpatient and outpatient services. I've got 30-plus years experience.
For psychiatric services?
Psychiatric and mental health services. I have 30-plus years experience running programs like that. I have a staff that's ready to do that. I do not have a company here in Kansas right now, but I am licensed and do have a company in Missouri after running one for 30-plus years in Maryland. And the whole issue was that I just wanted an opportunity to bid on it rather than have a lease just given out to a company. I don't think the public was made aware of who that company is, and I've looked online. I can't even find them. So I don't know who this company is. I only learned about it.
I have a question for Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, did we ever make a policy on who we would allow into the Cushing Hospital? I don't recall us ever making any kind of policy.
The board never officially approved any policy, Commissioner. And typically with public comment, it's public comment. We don't engage, and I would encourage the board to follow that policy.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. We appreciate you coming out, sir.
Okay, thank you for hearing me, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other additional public comment? Vicki, you have anything for the group?
No.
Doug, do you?
Had some people want to know what our security is costing the county here at the courthouse. Do we have a number on that? What it costs yearly for our security?
Commissioner, I don't know that off the top of my head. I know we know the cost. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know what to tell them. And I see the Little Stranger Church, they receive a rural preservation grant.
Yes, they did.
$10,800, something like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
And we talked about the base or mayor's state of the city address. What else? Oh, your groundbreaking out at Lansing last week. Anybody been by? Groundbreaking a new business going out there?
Harbor Freight is finally, the weather's permitted. They've got to turn in some serious dirt out there.
Okay. And then I have Bayshore City Council tonight. I think that's it.
Thank you.
And the city of Leavenworth announced, or it's been announced, and it was announced that over at Lakeview and Eisenhower Road, they will be putting in a culverts. Will be done by Schuler, and so that's something that's going to be coming before
And
too
they've also
long.
extra land.
And right.
For future stuff.
For
yeah.
future,
Good.
like a kind of like a little development there
Right.
within that,
Right.
between the Frontier, the credit union,
Down towards right, yeah,
and then
across-
at Lakeview, which
Yeah.
is the old Yon property.
Yeah. That's
Well,
excellent.
that's another place I shouldn't be going, but I will.
Harbor Freight.
And they're going to be having a large, one of the large culverts, not one of
Yeah.
the small
Oh, really?
ones. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Glad to see that. Mike?
But I don't have anything really to report, but I'd just like to say I've been getting a lot of phone calls and letters on RB changes in regulations, and that is a planning commission issue, and it may well not even make it to this level, so I just want people to know that that's where that decision
Yeah, Mike,
initially.
that's more than anything I've ever had. I've sent them to the planning commission. Sometimes there's some confusion on that,
Right.
where that's heading right now.
It's just a discussion item.
Right.
There's no decision that's
Right.
been made.
That's right.
And
But they're letting me know about it.
Yeah.
Anything else,
That's
Mike?
it.
no, it's good. I'm glad people.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
when people
People are
come
paying
out.
attention.
Yeah?
I
Yeah.
like it when they buy RVs and boats because we tax them.
Anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Okay. Jeff?
Just got Easton, Kickapoo Township meetings this week. I'm meeting with Jeff Pittman at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So if you guys have any questions you want me to forward,
Senate Bill
let me know.
13.
Let me know.
Yeah, one thing, I'm sorry, I need an alibi here. Doug has met with City of Lansing, the mayor, city administrator. I've done it with Baser, and I think a couple other people. Vicki, you've got one coming up. County commissioners, I just encourage you, because I plan on doing it, by meeting with the other entities, even if they're not in your district, it's just a good thing, because it really opens eyes. So Baser surprised me, Tongi surprised me on some things, and I just think it's that thing about working together again. So if y'all want to reach out to any other ones, especially Lance or anyone like that, I'd sure set it up for you. But I just want to throw that out there, Jeff. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. And then also I have the Fire District 1 meeting tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking that,
Let me
Jeff.
know if you
I
guys
appreciate you handling
anything you
that.
want me to forward to them.
Yeah.
Handling Jeff.
Forward.
Vicki, do you have anything else that I should share with you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Anything else? We're just the conference for the clerk conference. I did represent the Board of County Commissioners at that conference last Wednesday, and it was very well attended. I found it very interesting that there were 33 brand new county clerks across the state, which is that's a large
a lot.
turnover, and that they're predicting several more retiring clerks in the next election cycle. So, but the Senate bill was discussed during that, and I provided copies, I think, to all of you of one of the PowerPoint presentations, and
Okay. Well, that's where that came from.
Yes,
Well, thank
that
you.
came from the
Thank
clerk's
you. All right.
conference.
I didn't know where it came from, but it was a very interesting read. And
Yeah. Okay, Mark, do y'all have anything else before we adjourn?
well, what about the commission conference that's in Liberal? I know it's a long ways away. Does anybody?
I love going to these things, but that's in another country.
I know it is, but this year I didn't know if it was something. I mean, I would go if commissioners thought I should go, just because.
What were the dates?
June 8th through the 10th, I believe. Does that sound right?
Is
that conflict with any
Yeah, that
time
sounds
schedule?
close about it.
Mr. Smith, you probably need to leave tomorrow.
I'm one of them guys that
On
gets up
horseback.
at midnight and drives. But, you know, they came. We hosted
They come
it
to
here.
ours,
They
that's
came
right.
here, and with everything that's going on in the legislature, I'd like to know how other county commissioners are going to handle some of the new changes.
Well, I don't mind going with you if you didn't want to go alone.
You know, it doesn't matter.
Just let me know.
Okay.
Okay. We have an answer.
I mean, I know it's a long ways, but
Vicky can communicate very well.
So do you
We
wanna-
won't be bored.
Do we need a motion to compensate them then for that trip?
well, we just
No, it's part
We turned it
Okay.
in.
It's fine, awesome. If I get a motion to adjourn, I'd appreciate it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second, and call the roll, Commissioner Collins.
I
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.